What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Movie Battleground. I am your host, Matt here, and what should be a fantastic match, a Marvel edition, because Thor comes out today. So yay, happy Thor Day. Today we get to see two Marvel nuts going at it. Malcolm versus Joey. I'm going to introduce Malcolm first. How are you doing, Malcolm?
Pretty good. Just ready to do this and debate Marvel.
All right. And Joey, I judged you before. How are you doing?
What is up, everyone? Joey, the Wall Morin. I don't know if that name still sticks with me, but I'm here, ready to debate some Marvel. Huge MCU fan, so you might notice a bit of a theme in my answers coming up. But let's have some fun.
Oh, yeah. And I got to clarify again, you look exactly like my dad. Just want to get that out of the way once again.
Yes. Remember that, son.
Okay. So if I don't give you the win, I will be punished. Wonderful. So basically how this is going to go, it's like any other movie Battleground. Each of you are going to give an opening statement once I give you the question. Then you're going to have about 5 minutes to debate and go at each other as much as you can. And then you'll give your closing arguments. If it's 4-0, it's a knockout. But if it's 3-1 or 2-2, we're going to go into speed rounds, which is a round that will consist of 20 seconds for your opening, and then you're going to have a 10-second rebuttal. So without further ado, are you guys ready to go?
Let's do this.
Ready?
All right, so let's get right into it with the first question. Obviously, this is something that's going to come up, but we figure let's ask it first. What is the best Marvel movie? And we're going to start with Malcolm on this one.
Well, for this one, I picked Captain America: Civil War because Civil War is even though people say it's pretty much an Avengers movie, it's great, and the way they handle all the different characters is perfect, and they managed to find a way to balance everyone's screen time, so that's why I've picked that for the best Marvel movie.
All right, and Joey, what is the best Marvel movie in your opinion?
The one, the only, the Avengers, the original. I picked the Avengers because it was like basically capping off the phase one of the new formula that they were putting together, bringing together, all these awesome characters, the first time ever on screen together, duking it out. It was, it hadn't really been done before, and big budget, really paid off. It kicked some serious butt. So, I had to go with that one. There's a lot of build up to this movie, starting with Iron Man and all the after credit scenes and everything. And they did a really good job of just giving us these epic characters in their own solo movies, and then bringing them all together like this perfect plan. And it just basically put everybody on watch. Said like, oh, okay, that's the way to do it. I guess Marvel's got a great formula. They proved it. So that's my pick.
Alrighty, two really good movies that you guys picked. It's hard to argue which is better than the other, but I'm very curious to hear your guys' points as you go at it. So, you guys got 5 minutes. Go at it.
All right, I'll start. Malcolm picked Civil War, and he said it in his opening argument. It's pretty much an Avengers movie. It is a great movie. It's a fantastic movie, but it's nothing without everything that I just said. Everything that built up to this. That movie by itself, say we erase the past and we put everything into a Civil War movie where we got Captain America against Iron Man, and we don't have any on-screen experience with them and any kind of following with these characters. The stakes aren't as high. Everybody would be great. Everybody would think it was great. Oh, we get to see Captain America and Iron Man on screen together. But what's that going to be like? There's going to be some apprehension. People are going to go into so Civil War is nothing without the Avengers. And so it being a great movie, I don't think it's necessarily the best of all time. It's some epic battles, some really good special effects, great acting. It's a great movie. But I have all that in the Avengers, and it has something going for it. The Avengers being that it never been done before, and so they knocked it out of the park so well. Like the humor, the characters on screen, the chemistry, everything was all like just so. So I think the Avengers is just slightly a little better because of being there first. It's all a race and getting there first.
Yeah, I mean, those are all some great points for the Avengers, and I mean, this is not going to be an easy debate at all because both Civil and Avengers are really great movies. And like my issue, I love the Avengers, but my issue is that there's some characters don't get. It's an uneven amount of screen time for characters, but in Civil War, like, and especially in the big airport fight scene, they managed to get show off each character's fighting styles in different parts in the fight, and it's done so perfectly. Like there's equal amount of Hawkeye, there's equal amount of Spider-Man. I mean, not so much Spider-Man, but Iron Man, Captain America, they all had that equal amount. Like the Avengers, like Hawkeye was quite pretty much not done very well in the Avengers. Like he was essentially downgraded to just lackey, and I mean, he is a really.
I disagree. I think Hawkeye was done just enough. You see, Hawkeye and Black Widow are I hate to say it, but they're like secondary characters. They're agents. Like they don't necessarily have the kind of powers or pull that the Avengers had, and so they had to support these characters. They were supporting characters, so they didn't need a lot of screen time. And then you look at some of the humor and chemistry that Hawkeye had. Like Hawkeye just standing on the rooftop and calling out strays and stuff. That was funny. That was really good interaction between the Avengers, keeping it fun and light. And Iron Man saying clench up, Legolas, and he grabs him by the back and flies off. Like that's all like it wouldn't have been great if he did that to anybody else. It had to have been because they had that bit of a banter. You know what I mean? And they even played it further on in the Age of Ultron movie where Tony and Hawkeye had the same almost like edged with each other. They weren't friends. It was like they got along, but you could tell that they're digging at each other all the time. Like Tony making the comment of oh, I guess he's gonna live, and bringing the drinks to everyone. Like that kind of stuff isn't funny without what they did in the Avengers, building up the characters.
Yeah, well, I mean, yes, the Avengers did everything to establish it and bring together, but I mean, like Civil War, it took the characters to different levels and gave them even higher emotional stakes. Because I mean, you could see. You can take it out of the Captain America trilogy, watch it standalone, and still understand the story because it was done in a way that you can watch it as standalone. And I mean, you could tell, at the end fight between Captain America and Iron Man, you could tell, Captain America didn't really want to hurt his friend. And I mean, the emotion in it. I mean, in the Avengers, there wasn't a lot of big emotional arcs. It was battle, I mean, it's pretty much an action set piece.
It's actually I disagree again. Like you have an alien race attacking Earth, and these guys are all finding their own way individually, and now all of a sudden they have to put their differences aside because they're at almost at each other's throat, thanks to Loki. But so they have to find a way to rise above that, and towards the end, it kind of, when I first saw it, I watched it back to back in the theaters. I went and saw it twice, and I got choked up a couple times in that movie. When Iron Man's flying and he's got spoiler alert if you haven't seen the Avengers. Just kidding. He's flying with the missile and he's going up into the black hole and he's trying to call Pepper on the phone and she's busy looking at the news and she doesn't even know that he's trying to maybe say goodbye. We don't know what's happening. We don't know, like Robert Downey Jr. had already done 2 Iron Man movies. Maybe this was his send off. We all didn't know going in what was going to happen, and it looked like he was going to maybe bite the farm and then have a new Iron Man come in. This could have been the end of that arc. So there's a lot of stakes there. So, and I mean, yeah, Captain America had a ton of stakes too. You know, I agree with that. It's like you said earlier in the opening argument, it's going to be difficult to defend this, you know, either movie as being the best, because they're both fantastic. It's probably in my top 3 of all time movies of Marvel. So, you know, good on you for picking that one. But I just think that those characters all came together, you know, in a way that, you know, the way that Marvel Studios unveiled it for us. You know, it's great because of the past, and that's my argument. I'm sticking to it.
All right, so we're gonna go into our final debates. You guys can have as much time as you want. Just don't take an hour to explain, and we'll be all good. We're gonna start with Malcolm because he did open up this round, and then we'll go to Joey, and then I will have my decision. So, Malcolm, kick us off.
Well, I think Captain America Civil War is the best Marvel movie because it heightens up the emotional and helps set the stage ready for the upcoming Infinity War movies. And it just builds, and I mean, you get to see all the characters that have been established up to that point go at it and be able to have enough time to show off all their powers and skills and what they can do. And unlike the Avengers, which and I mean, I get it, Hawkeye and Scarlet Widow are pretty much supporting characters there, but I think at this point they're pretty much established and should be bigger in the MCU. And I don't think that Avengers did a good job of cementing them into there, but Civil War did, and it still had some good comedy banter between some of the characters, and that is why Civil War's best Marvel movie.
All right. Well, like I said, it's a fantastic movie, and the reason I think that, characters like Hawkeye and them, they weren't just first on screen in the Avengers. They were sprinkled in the other movies. You know, Hawkeye was pretty funny in the Thor movie. You know what I mean? Like, you know, he's up in the rafters looking down on Thor beating him on. He's like, actually, I'm starting to root for this guy. Like, it's that kind of chemistry was there all along. And so you know, it paid off in the Avengers, and it paid off even more in Civil War. And so, you know, I hate to beat a dead horse, but I mean, it's all part of the same thing. So it's going to be hard for us to argue it. But you brought up a point that Civil War set up the Infinity Wars. It certainly did. It certainly did help that. But remember, Infinity Wars is a capping off a trilogy of trilogies. Like, you have the Avengers are built up of trilogies. You have, you know, Iron Man trilogy, the Captain America trilogy, and now the Thor. You know, and they're all piecing together this epic final battle. And, you know, like, but your argument is not as valid because it only helps my point because the Avengers started it all, and so now this is where we're going to finish it all. You know, Captain America movies almost feel like Avengers 2.0. Like you got the Avengers came out, then you had like movies like Civil War and Iron Man, and they felt like, because there was other Avengers in it, it felt like Avengers, like you said in your opening argument. It felt like you know, like Avengers 1 came out, then you know, Winter Soldier and Iron Man 3 came out, and it felt like Avengers 1.5. And then Avengers Age of Ultron came out, and then we get Civil War, and we get, and now in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, they all like reference back to the Avengers. Like, sorry, pal, but That's just the way I see it. It's just like everything ties right back to, like, you had the right thought, but you probably should have went with the Avengers. Then I would have been stuck to go somewhere else. That's just my argument. I'm leaving it there.
All right, so first off, great argument. You guys really went back and forth. Every time one of you said something, maybe not negative, but more of a hit towards your opponent's movie, they came back and deflected it and struck you with something which you guys deflected. So it really did come down to the speed round, and to me, I guess not really a speed round because there was something Joey said at the end about some of the emotional elements when Iron Man's taking the missile up and he's trying to call Pepper and she doesn't answer. I think to me that really stuck to me the most, and I felt like, Malcolm, you could have struck that back with, towards the end of Civil War when Iron Man finds out Bucky killed his parents. Spoiler alert. I feel like you could have struck back with that, and I think that would have gave you the point in this. But still, very close. It just came right to that little thing. So Joey will get the first point. I have a feeling this is definitely going to come down to the wire. And since we went to the best Marvel movie, we know Marvel makes a lot of good movies. They're known more for the MCU and from the X-Men movies. However, they made some real shit bombs. So with that, what is the worst Marvel movie? And we're going to start with Joey on this, and then we'll go to Malcolm. So Joey, kick us off. What is the worst?
I went with Spider-Man 3, Sam Raimi's. And I think that movie could have been a great cap-off to an already awesome trilogy. The first Spider-Man movie, we'd never seen Spider-Man on screen like that before. It was epic. I was jumping in my seat, watching him climb the wall for the first time, like a spider. It was just incredible. And then, come on, we all agree, probably top 10 Marvel movies is Spider-Man 2. With Doc Ock, it's a great movie. It's up there. And then they had so much going for them. This was could have been their phase 1. They were going there, and then all these characters that we've come to love and follow and get invested in. And it just kind of all fell to shit at the end. And so I got points on why when it comes to my turn.
Alrighty. Malcolm, what could possibly be worse than Spider-Man 3?
Well, when I first got this question, my first thought was X-Men Origins Wolverine. But then I remembered the shit bomb from 2015, which is Fantastic Four, that was done by Josh Trank. I mean, the worst Marvel movie ever. Like, the characters weren't developed. I mean, they pretty much skipped, like, my favourite part of any first part of a trilogy, which is them learning to use the powers. They literally went 1 year later and went whole into the meat, and that took a whole lot of the movie away. I mean, like, the acting was decent at best, but the script was terrible. Just everything was terrible. That is why Fantastic Four 2015 is the worst Marvel movie.
All right, so we got some shit turds going right at it. So whenever you guys are ready, just go right at it.
Okay, well, we got 3 movies for each of our picks. We got the the Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four. They made 2 movies, which were likable. The characters, they did a good job of what Malcolm just said. Let's watch them develop their powers and develop as a person, as a character. Their story arc started to build up. And so, if anything, I was hoping that they would have finished that trilogy. They would have brought in a 3rd movie from them. But obviously they couldn't because Chris Evans was busy. And but I mean, that's not why they stopped it. I mean, they weren't big money makers. I liked them. But I mean, it's just me. So they had when you reboot a series, you've got a lot of eyes on you, and so that's what I think. That's what their biggest problem was is that they're trying to redo something that there wasn't a big hit to begin with, and so they had a lot to lose, and so it. Whereas on my argument, Spider-Man, they had something really fantastic, and so the stakes are even higher. for mine, and to blow it the way they did, you know, like they had. It started off okay. We had some character building. We kind of figure out who the Sandman is and what his stakes are and stuff. And it started to, like, had a nice first act. You know, I thought, hey, we're going somewhere. You know, and then you know, you got Venom, terrible portrait. You know, I don't even read comics, and I knew that he was done wrong. And the huge sand monster at the end is just the beast, and the emotional lackluster roller coaster that they tried to put us on with you know, Harry. It's just they had so much to work with, and they screwed it up. So that's, I think that considering what they had going for them, it was theirs. Like they couldn't, like, they had so much going for them, and they screwed it up. Like that makes it for a bigger failure in my book. You know, and it kind of had to make them rethink their formula. And then coming back to my original point is the Avengers. They had to rethink their formula and start again. They went back to quote unquote formula because of, you know, a flop like that. Okay, so that's like, you got to reboot. First of all, reboots are giving people are getting reboot fatigue, and so it had that going against it. So when you're trying to reboot that movie, it was probably a mistake to begin with. And it's not easy to do. Maybe they should have done it differently, where they'd make Fantastic Four secondary characters in an Avengers movie, make them come in and be supporting, and like they did with Homecoming, they brought the Spider-Man first appeared in Civil War, and we got a taste for what Spider-Man could be again. Because let's not even go there what they did with the reboots of the other ones. You know, don't get me started on Andrew Garfield. I didn't like him as a Spider-Man, as Peter Parker. So I just think that the stakes were they lost. They had more to lose, and so when they lost bigger than your movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, yes, I mean the original Fantastic Four movies, they were enjoyable. I mean, I liked them myself. But, I mean, the 2015 one, it completely destroyed everything what everyone loved about. I mean, like the first couple movies were relatively successful at the box office. I mean, the first one made about $330 million. I mean, it made enough. So I mean, it was successful enough to miss a reboot. I mean, the reboot barely made 60 million. I mean, it did terrible. I mean, and Spider-Man 3, it did great, box office wise, and I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, and I think the flaws in Spider-Man 3, the whole emo dance thing, is like, it wasn't as bad as the flaws that Fantastic Four 2015 had. I mean, like, the whole going 1 year later and stepping over the whole learning how to use the powers, the wrong move to do, especially if there's going to be a reboot. If it was going to be attempted to be a sequel, then yeah, that kind of would have been fine. I mean,
I think they're trying to give.
And I mean,
sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. You had more to say there. Sorry.
I mean, the Death for 2015, it was so that the planned sequel that they had for it, they had to scrap it. Didn't make the money. I mean, it really wasn't. I mean, like, and I mean, it was enjoyable. And I mean, like, the flaws were only just so small. I mean, yeah, it may have like destroyed. And I mean, that planned series, because I mean, there is a rumored fourth movie script out there that they didn't do.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, your point that about how they didn't give us enough about how they got how did they learn how to use their powers, but it's kind of the same boat as we've already seen them before. Like we you know, and this is not like another movie studio trying to do, you know, like this is Marvel doing it, and so we've seen the Fantastic Four's powers, and so maybe they were trying to give fans credit and said, you know, let's skip over that part of the act and because, you know, and it's kind of like what we did with with Spider-Man. We'd seen 5 movies of this guy, so we didn't need to do a bunch of that in Homecoming. You know what I mean? And so it's a crapshoot, but they threw the dice and it didn't work out for them. You know, that doesn't mean that their formula failed them. It's just they probably picked the wrong movie to try and reboot. They probably should have put their money in better places, like maybe trying to get a third with those characters, like maybe recast the Johnny Blaze or whatever his name is, Flamo or whatever. I don't know the character. I'm not good with names, but you know, whereas you know the black suit Spider-Man was like, it was fantastic, and then they ruined it by bringing in that stupid emo Parker. You know, like they didn't have to do that. They could have. The movie was fine if they would have just ramped down on the emo stuff, fixed Venom. It would have been okay. I could have got away with. I could have been fine with it being that big, huge sand creature at the end, you know, and then Harry and Peter working together to fight it. You know, it would have been a better climax if we had, you know, a better Venom and none of that. I think they were trying too hard to make it funny or something. I don't know, and so I think that their crapshoot there failed them way more than the crapshoot with the reboot. So
yeah, I mean, I get that that's what they're trying to go for it, but the fact is it didn't work. And I mean, they completely ruined Doctor Doom. Just like, what a villain! He did not do anything much in the movie. He just appeared sort of near the end, and his stupid CGI formy thing. And I mean, like, even the cast, and I mean, like, with Spider-Man 3, you had, like, about 3 villains, and I mean, like, at least 2 of them were done well, and with the exception of Venom, but I mean, like, a lot of Spider-Man 3, it's like, it is watchable. Fantastic Four 2015 is just not watchable at all.
All right, so we're gonna go into our final debates. This is, like I said, you guys just take as much time as you need to explain why yours is the worst over the other. And we're gonna start with Joey because he did start this round. Then we'll go to Malcolm, and then we'll end this round. So, Joey.
Yeah, I don't think a movie being unwatchable should condemn it to being the worst movie. When you consider what I've been saying, is everything that they built up to, like they were setting the pace. The next Spider-Man movie should have been perfect because they had everything going perfectly up to this point. And so, you know, like even Iron Man suffered a bit. You know, like Iron Man was such a great first movie in this whole new phase, and then 2 is mixed reviews. You know, like I like it, but I know that it's not loved by everyone. And then 3, don't even get me started. A lot of people that are watching this video right now will say 3 sucks, and I love 3. So I mean, they get mixed reviews. You know, it's hard to keep the pace going, and they had the pace going. They did it. They found the formula. They found the way to, and it was theirs to lose. So all it was just like, it's like winning in the 3rd period with a 3-point lead, and then all of a sudden, bam, the other team wins in overtime. Like that. That sucks. If you're a Leafs fan, you know what I'm talking about. And so, yeah, that's basically my argument. Is that the stakes were way high. Like, I wouldn't say that the stakes are higher. That's the wrong way of putting it. They had so much going for them. Like, how can you screw it up like that? Like, how did they even like think that was a good Venom? Like, who worked on that movie? Like did Sam Raimi take a break and give someone else the lens and just take the credit? Like, what was happening there? Like, how did they go from what they had to that? It's a complete turnaround. Like rebooting is one thing. You have a chance to start clean. They made some mistakes. You pointed them out, but they're not. But they're not like my argument is not whether or not it's watchable or how well it did in the box office. My argument is, how did they fail us as fans? You know, what did they do to like they failed us Spider-Man fans? We all were really invested in this storyline, and then they went and took a dump on us. Like, and then they promised a fourth movie, like you said, and for years I was waiting to see if maybe they could tie this up and clean it up with a fourth one, because I still love to this day Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker. That emo scene aside, he was going through some struggles, and I related to him, and I felt like, yeah, okay, I can forgive you for that. You know, so you know that's pretty much all I had to really finish up with is you had a series that was likable, but it wasn't knocking it out of the park. And so to reboot it, first of all, why? And like their story kind of ended nice, like neat and tidy, you know, 1 and 2. They really didn't even need a third one, but if they were going to do it, like, why not try to get that story continued instead of redoing the whole thing? So,
Alrighty, now Malcolm, finish us off.
Well, I mean, the mistakes that Spider-Man 3 made, are, as you said, are pretty forgivable because, like, they're minimal. I mean, yes, they could have cast a bit of Venom. Like, yes, they could have got rid of the whole emo thing bit. I mean, but I mean, for the most part, like, I enjoyed Spider-Man 3 myself, and I mean, it's a watchable. I mean, like, Fantastic Four is one of my favourite superhero team ups, and what Josh Trank did in with it in 2015 was just unforgivable. I mean, Fantastic Four. I mean, like, you'd watch this as like, why? Why would you? Because even the characters had barely no development, and I mean, like with the casting of Michael B. Jordan as Human Torch, I mean, I didn't mind them changing the character's race, but I mean, they didn't do any development on the character to establish that why the brother and sister are not the same color. They just went as if it was just normal, and I mean, the writing and like editing was just so terrible, and I mean, the characterizations were not that great. I mean, some of the acting was decent at best, but it was still better than Topher Grace as Venom in Spider-Man 3. I mean, and the other way around actually. Topher Grace's acting as Venom is better than any of the acting in Fantastic Four, and that's why Fantastic Four is the worst Marvel movie ever made. You're still muted, Matt.
we don't hear you, Matt.
There we go. Wonderful. Oh, I forgot to click it. All right. So, what I was saying when I was muted, you guys had a great match, great round in this, whole thing, and a lot of your arguments were very similar as far as like the dislikes and everything. So it really did come down to some of the little tiny things I heard, and something that Malcolm said in his final argument was about the development of the Human Torch and Invisible Woman in the movie. 100% remember their names. I was never really into the Fantastic Four comics, and I don't really remember the movies at all, so it's kind of hard to explain. So with Michael B. Jordan's character and Kate Mara, when you said that they had no development on how they became brothers and sisters, because you got to kind of explain that if they're kind of two different skin colors. So I'm going to give Malcolm the point on that. Very, very close. It literally came down to little detail like that. So it is 1-1, and we're going to go into our third question. We definitely don't have a knockout, and we will go into round 3. So our third question, with all these Marvel movies, we've had great performances, terrible performances. A lot of people thought certain people could be nominated for an Oscar, even with like Patrick Stewart and Logan. Some people are saying he deserves the nomination. So with that, we thought it would be good to ask, what is the best acting performance in a Marvel movie? And we're going to start with Malcolm on this, and then we'll go to Joey. So, Malcolm, who gave the best performance in a Marvel movie?
Well, acting, I found it very hard because there's a lot of great acting in the Marvel movies. But I ended up sticking with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and specifically him in Logan, the most recent one that's just been released. Logan got him to be the Wolverine that we all know and love from the comics, and from what we meant, because it was a higher rating than the others, and everything just clicked. And yeah, and I mean that's why I picked Wolverine. Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
Okay, Joey, who do you think gave the best performance?
I think that the best performance, that's probably, it's another iconic figure in Marvel Cinematic world, is Robert Downey Jr., of course, as Iron Man. And, he's also happens to be my favorite superhero, so, in the movie universe. So there's that. But yeah, I think that he did such a great job of embodying that character, and what he had to do that was there's arguments there that I have.
Alrighty, so you guys know the drill. You got 5 minutes to claw at each other's throats. Malcolm, claw at him like Wolverine would. Malcolm or Joey, just, I don't know, shoot him with something. I don't know. All right, go ahead, guys.
Well, I don't have superpowers. I'm kind of like Iron Man. I've got to use other ways to win. And but unfortunately, I'm not a millionaire playboy philanthropist. But I think that Robert Downey Jr. was in a bit of a comeback with this movie, with the very first Iron Man. Like he had rough patch. He's going through some really difficult times in his personal life, and we really thought we'd never see him again. But if you look at what kind of characters he always played when he was younger, like he played those kind of snarky, sarcastic, from the hip kind of characters. So he fit the mold really well, and for him to come back from no man's land and just kind of put on the suit, like almost literally put on the suit and show us that he's back and he's back to stay, is pretty incredible. And I mean, and he had to put on some weight for this. Like he had to beef up a bit, because like when you see him with the shirt off, he's not messing around. Because he was pretty scrawny. He was a pretty skinny guy. So like he did that. So he took the role seriously, and I mean, he's just something awesome to watch on screen. Like the way he interacts with everyone around him, the chemistry is natural, and I just think that in the suit or out, he brings something to the screen, and that's my argument there for Iron Man.
Well, when Hugh Jackman was first cast as Wolverine, he wasn't known in the role, because he never did anything big, and he literally came from nowhere. And was like, when he was first cast, it was like Heath Ledger's Joker. Everyone was like, why did they cast him? It's like, he looks nothing like the character. But Hugh Jackman showed like that he could, and I mean, and Logan is the culmination of all that, because it showed that, and Logan showed how far Wolverine has grown as a character, and it's most likely going to be the last time we're ever going to see him as Wolverine. And that's provided he doesn't show up in any Deadpool movies as a quick cameo for some reason. But yeah, and I mean, like Robert Downey Jr., he's great as Iron Man. I mean, and it was a great comeback. But Um, I mean, for me, I thought there was something off with his characterization of Iron Man because it just seemed like he was playing himself in a way. Don't know how to explain it, but it's like, but it just seemed like he wasn't showing as much cockiness as Iron Man normally does when you see him in the cartoons.
Okay. Well, what about like you think about that though? He did do that a lot of the times. Like you say, he's at the craps table. You know what I mean? And he missed his own ceremony, and he's like, and Rhodey's trying to give him the award at Caesar's Palace. Like he's like, oh, one of those. Like I don't have any of those kicking around. Like he didn't care. Like his chemistry was perfect for that role. Like you almost have to cast somebody like Robert Downey Jr. Like you could take anybody who's down on their luck in their personal life, but with the same personality, and then put them in that role. And I don't, it would be difficult for them to make it work for that character. Like it set the tone for the rest of for everything we're loving today. Your earlier argument with the Civil War, that climax at the end, it's because of what he's been doing, what he gave us. He gave us that character. Wolverine, he's in all these different like timeline skews, and like there's like 13 different movies where Wolverine is featured, and like it's hard to keep up with that character, and all you have to do is act angry and what happened to me, what's my past, and act angry, and I can get anybody to do that. He did awesome in Logan, but that's a different type of movie where a dramatic performance is almost expected. Like you could see that they were going for a different tone, different. Iron Man was still able to have fun, tell the jokes, have the chemistry and the sarcasm and all that, but still give us like something that I felt like a loss inside when he was going through the truth being revealed about his parents and all of that. Like he showed some levels, some definitely some layers to that character. I don't see Robert Downey Jr. when I look at the character on screen. I see Tony Stark. I hate the day that when they're going to say that Iron Man is being replaced, and there's talks about a younger female Iron Man, Iron Girl, and whatever they do there. I want him to always be Iron Man, even if he's just a role model later on in life and he's old, like Logan, like he ends up being, like, give him his Logan movie. Where's this Tony Stark movie? just called Stark, because we all want it. We might even see it one day. And so that's.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, but I mean, when comparing him to Hugh Jackman as Logan, I mean, like you said, like all you have to do in Logan is that camera. That is not true at all. Because I mean, with Wolverine, you've got to have the emotional depth as well. I mean, and throughout the X-Men movies, I mean, like the time, like yes, like each trilogy is a different timeline per se, but I mean, it's showed like emotional depth in all of his movies, and like Logan is just, and I mean,
his only
like
emotional depth. The only emotional depth he ever had was in X-Men 3. Like when he's going through the loss of and having to kill Jean Grey, like that's one scene in all the movies he's been in. Every other movie, you take a cookie cutter and you stamp him, and there's Wolverine. Okay, we need him younger, and he's over in this one thing where the X-Men find him, and he helps them for 2 minutes. Cookie cutter, like Logan is basically just him without the suit, like just walking around being drunk and angry, and it's a great movie, but I just don't. We get it. We get it. He's had a rough life. He's been around for 100 years or whatever. Like we still don't know anything about we know some stuff, but I mean, like, all we get from him is just this snarky, like, angry guy. Like, anybody can act that way. We get so many different layers with Tony Stark, and Robert Downey Jr. can bring us more laughs, and then in the next act make us hold back a tear in our eye, like, you know, like, and make us feel angry. He can play angry. He can play. Robert Downey Jr. shows us that, and like, let's not forget that Robert Downey Jr. had to always come back to that character while doing other projects. Look at what he did with Sherlock Holmes. He had to thin down. He had to trim down like almost nothing to do Sherlock Holmes, and then he had to beef back up to do Iron Man again. So there's that. You know, actors can be considered for Oscars based on that alone. Having to go through, like, Tom Hanks was considered for an Oscar because of what he went through with Castaway. You know, like that kind of stuff. Like, so I mean, there's that too. Hugh Jackman is just this cut guy that looks the same age, and so let's give him a role, and it worked out for them. And now they got this cookie cutter Logan. They got 15 movies out of him, and well done, but nothing really special.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I mean, Robert Downey Jr. did have different roles which had to. I mean, even with Hugh Jackman, I mean, like, yes, his body, most of his roles, he's been the same sort of body shape, but I mean, he's had a lot of roles in between his X-Men movies. And Matt mentioned, like, for the argument that some of the actors, there's talks for Patrick Stewart as to be nominated. Hugh Jackman is also, lots of people saying that he should be nominated as Wolverine from his performance in Logan alone.
Well, I thought I heard somewhere that Robert Downey Jr. is in talks for an Oscar. I'm just kidding. But that's not really the argument. Like, an Oscar's nice, but do they really make the right choices? I mean, do these award companies really make the best choices? Some you think people deserve Oscars all the time, but a lot of the times the wrong people win. You have, like, for example, another very predominant award company, Golden Globes. They thought The Martian was a comedy, like things like that they don't give them a lot of credibility. So, like, who cares if he's maybe considered for an Oscar? What do they know is my argument. Like, you know, they don't get it right all the time just because they're a nice fancy TV show that, and, you know, has a big red carpet and everybody watches it once a year. It doesn't mean that they always get it right. And so it shouldn't, my argument is that it shouldn't take any weight on whether or not they can perform well on screen. He does great. He's a great Wolverine. He's iconic. He's going to be always remembered as Hugh Jackman is the Wolverine. You know, but all he is a cookie cutter, angry looking face guy that can fight and looks cut. Like, Iron Man has to go above and beyond that. It's almost like Wolverine has powers, and so he can rely on that. Iron Man has to be the guy in the suit. He doesn't, like, even after Iron Man 3, he doesn't have the chest piece anymore, but he's still the Iron Man. He's still just, without the suit, he's just Tony Stark, and he's got to make us believe that he, without that suit on, he could be killed. He could be taken out. Wolverine can't die. So the stakes are higher for Tony Stark, and he gives us that. He gives us. I feel like when he's like, can't get to a suit in time in Iron Man 2, like, I'm freaking out. Like, he does that. He makes me, you know, follow and, like, want him to get away, like, and get to his suit and do the right thing. Like, Wolverine he does that too, but just I don't think he does it enough. I think he just, he plays the character that he was given, which is, be grumpy, be angry, be looking for your past. And it's almost like Logan, actually, he all this buildup we have for this character, where is he from? And then in Logan, he's like just trying to forget it. It's like, crap, I thought we were going to finally get somewhere. So anyways, that's what I have to say.
All right. So speaking of that, we're going into our final arguments. You guys know the deal. You've done 2 rounds of this already. So we're going to start with Malcolm. Then we'll go to Joey. And then I will get my rolling. So Malcolm, kick us off.
Well, I mean, Robert Downey Jr. was great, like as both Tony Stark and Iron Man. But I mean, Hugh Jackman, when he was embodied the role of Wolverine, like if you'd see him in the street, the first thing you'd think of is pure Wolverine. Like with Robert Downey Jr., like he might be able to put his disguise on, and if he like put his disguise on or grow a massive beard, like you'd only recognise him if he was doing filming for Iron Man. Like you probably wouldn't recognise him to it if outside of there. But I mean, and I think Hugh Jackman's performance as Wolverine, like it was pretty much comic, like it was comic, realistic, like just without the suit, like. And I mean, I get why they didn't delve onto Iron Man's drinking problem and demon in bottle thing is because of Robert Downey Jr.'s own past. But I mean, like with his past, I mean, like I think if they asked him, he could have done it if he wanted to. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, I mean. That is why I think Hugh Jackman is the best performance in a Marvel movie.
Okay, well, I think that Hugh Jackman did do a fantastic job, and obviously a lot of people love Logan, and I love it too. I think it's a great movie, but I just think that he's a one-note character that the right person with a there's like a cut build and a raised eyebrow could be Wolverine, because that's pretty much all he ever is the same thing. And what happens around Wolverine makes those movies great. He's just going along for the ride, it seems to me. Whereas Iron Man makes the movie. Like you can't deny that. Like what Tony Stark, what Robert Downey Jr. does with Tony Stark is he gets us invested in the people in this franchise. Like, because ultimately, when they're all standing around the table talking about what they're going to do next, he's not standing in an Iron Man suit. He's standing as a person, and he gets us involved, and he gets us and he interacts with people in a different way. Like it's not like I want Wolverine to do what he does. It's a different kind of movie, a different kind of series. Like that, but I just don't. I think that there's just not enough. I've gotten bored almost with feeling sad for Wolverine. Like he just hasn't given me enough to really, in my opinion, like I feel like the stakes aren't as high with him as they are with Iron Man, and like how he holds everything together in that whole Avengers. He's a major piece in that chess game, and he's done such a great job of making such a likable character with so many layers, and that's why I think and like I said, Hugh Jackman is a great actor, and he pulled off a great character that's iconic. But I think just RDJ is a little bit better.
All right, so that's going to conclude this third round. Once again, like the last round, it was really good. You guys had enough arguments to where it kind of balanced out. So, like the last one, I'm kind of paying attention to little tiny details that would give you a smidge of an edge over the other. And there's something Joey said in his final argument where he's, even though I disagree with it, he says Wolverine is a one-note character. I feel like that just barely put him over the top. It's super close, but I'm gonna have to give Joey the point in this round. It is 2-1. We got one more round, then we got the speed round to go to. So let me pull up round 4's questions. Here we go. So, back 80s, 90s, a lot of the Marvel movies weren't good, but then we saw it change with like Spider-Man, X-Men, and of course the MCU. So we want to know, what was the best year for Marvel movies? So we'll start with Joey on this one, and then we'll go to Malcolm, and then we'll go into our main thing. So Joey, what was the best year?
Well, you'd think I have a plan because I've been plugging this the whole time. But yeah, I think 2012 is the best year for for Marvel, because it's the only movie that came out for that company is The Avengers. And what happened in that year, such a fantastic movie. Everything came together so well, so neat and tidy. So it's a wonderful movie. It's so great. I've rewatched it probably 50 times. You can't deny it. It's probably in everyone that's watching this video. If you're a fan of Marvel, it's in your top 5 all-time Marvel movies, probably top 3. And so for them to do everything they did to basically rebuild themselves, start with Iron Man and bring us here, and up until that point, almost every year had 2 movies coming out, but Avengers held a whole year just by themselves. How many times do people go and rewatch? Like I said earlier in my argument, I paid in advance. I knew this was going to be so good. I paid in advance and bought 2 tickets right off the bat. I went right back to the concession stand, refilled my drink, went right back in, and watched it a second time right there. So, and it didn't disappoint, and I laughed like my face off at the same parts. It was so enjoyable, such a ride, and it set the tone, it set the pace for what we're in now. Which we got another Avengers movie coming up. We got Thor that looks so fantastic, and we wouldn't have any of this without the crown jewel, The Avengers, which is 2012.
All right. So, good opening statement, Joey. Malcolm, what was the best year in your opinion?
Well, the best year for Marvel movies is 2016. Not only did you have Civil War, which I argued for, once again, I didn't plan for this, but you also had Deadpool. You had X-Men Apocalypse. You had Doctor Strange. I mean, you had 4 great Marvel movies in one year. 2012 only had 2 Marvel movies. It only had Avengers and also had the Future Spider-Man.
Oh, right.
And but I mean, and Deadpool and Civil War, both were regarded as really great movies of that year. And I mean, a lot of people had them in the top 10 movies of the year of 2016.
All right. Go at it, guys.
All right. Well, it seems like I take the lead on these, so I'll do it again. I'm going to take the lead, and I'm telling you, the 3 of those movies, or sorry, when you mentioned like movies like Doctor Strange, which we're in another phase, that they've been building. Phase 1, phase 2, we're in phase 3. Like, they are working a formula that they have proven to be good. Like, Avengers Age of Ultron was not too long ago, ending another great phase, And so it all comes back to what I've been saying all along, is that we're here enjoying all these great movies, and it's almost like, aside from the Fantastic Four flop, they're starting to figure it out. Like, everybody was worried about Homecoming that was not going to do too well, and look what it did. Like, because of all the bad news that was coming from the Spider-Man rehashes in the past, but it did well. It did, like, so they're on something right now, and I think they owe a lot of their success to this day to the Avengers, and what that year was probably. And I would bet money on it that they all agree in the studio that they're probably thinking like 2012 was our best year, not because of the money, not because of how many movies. Like, they released 4 movies last year, and sure, they probably made a boatload of money in comparison, but it's all thanks to the Avengers, and and that I can't say it enough. You can argue that these are all good movies. Deadpool was a pretty great movie. They pushed the envelope. They did the rated R, and they took some risks, and it paid off. But maybe they wouldn't have had the balls to pull off these risks if they didn't have a track record like they've been having. They had some flops, man. They've had some flops, and they still make boatloads of money with any movie attached to the Avengers. Ragnarok's gonna crush. That Black Panther, that looks fantastic. That movie's gonna do great. Ant-Man 2 is coming out. That looks like it's gonna be great. Avengers Infinity War, I can't wait for a trailer for that. Like, it's all, anything connected to the Avengers is basically a license to print money. And so of course you had a good year last year. You're welcome. 2012.
Yes, but the thing is, like, with 2012, like, you had a great movie in the Avengers, but then you had, on the opposite thing, a not so great movie, that the movie of Spider-Man. That kind of hurts 2012 in Marvel movies, because with 2016, all 4 of the Marvel movies that came out were pretty great. I mean, yes, Apocalypse, like, it had mixed reviews, and I think all of them actually had mixed reviews, but they're all still regarded as pretty good movies. And I mean, like, yes, I mean, Civil War and Doctor Strange, it's a different phase to the, like, Civil War was the culmination of the Captain America trilogy, and Doctor Strange is only the beginning of something new. I mean, but with 2012, like, the Avengers was the only good Marvel movie that was out that year. Amazing Spider-Man was mediocre at best. And I mean, like, Andrew Garfield, he wasn't the best characterization of he wasn't the best characterization of Peter Parker, but he was the better Spider-Man. Like, in my year, he had the debut of the new Spider-Man in Tom Holland, who was the culmination of both Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, and it's like they took a cloning machine, mashed Andrew and Tobey together, and Tom Holland.
Okay, well, you might not like The Amazing Spider-Man, but a lot of people did. A lot of people, like, it's 2. 2 gets the bad rap. Amazing Spider-Man 2 gets the bad rap. They dropped the ball there. They screwed that up. And so that's neither here nor there. My argument is that 2012 didn't need The Amazing Spider-Man. It was already a great year. I was counting down the minutes and the days for this Avengers movie. Like, I wanted this so bad from everything I'd seen. I'd watched all the movies leading up to this, dozens of times, and I became a comic book fan because of what Marvel had done on screen, because I'd only been a movie fan up to this point. So I started diving into comics and cartoons and stuff because of you know. And so 2012 was like a fantastic, it was a great year for movie going fans, who are attached to this story arc that they beautifully put together. And so 2016 only, like I said before, it only gives more credit to where credit's due. Is they just continued working something that was working, and they made it pay. Like Amazing Spider-Man isn't attached to the MCU. You know what I mean? Tom Holland is. They figured it out. Let's get Spider-Man back into the MCU. That's how we're going to right the ship. They did it. They figured it out. So it seems, it's almost like if it's attached to the Avengers, it's a license to print money. And I mean, like, and you proved my point by saying 2016 had they even referenced it in Deadpool. You know, like the Deadpool references he talks about, a group of people with powers, and like it's like he's making fun of them or whatever. So it's they have all these movies come out, like I said, in the same year. They can afford to do that now because of the pace that they set, and the risks they took paid off, and then they just kept on investing and making it better and better. So 2012 is pinnacle. It's like, I think they had to knock the Avengers out of the park. If they didn't knock the Avengers out of the park, it's not enough to just want to go and see the Avengers and hope it's good. They had better done it right. Like thankfully they did, and we have everything we have today because of it. Even DC is trying to ape their every move. So like it's just, like they're trying to have their own formula, and it's very similar. And so it all comes back down to that. Like the 2012 it's not a money making year. It's not how many movies came out in the year. It's what they did in that year. It was so beautiful. Like how they were able to bring all these characters and these big superhero powers on one screen. And I mean, you made the argument earlier that they didn't have enough screen time each. I think they had plenty of screen time. We got to see Hulk ripping shit apart. We got to see Iron Man flying through buildings, and we got to see Hawkeye, picking off strays and showing his talents. And friggin' Black Widow, she could die at any minute. She doesn't have an iron suit on, and she's jumping up, and Captain is launching her in the air, and she's grabbing her. Like, this is all cool stuff that we got enough screen time of all of them. It's overloaded. It's overloaded with so many good things, and it's such a payoff. That's probably the better word. Like 2012 was a huge payoff, and so everything afterwards is just gravy.
Yeah, when talking about the great year, though, you have to take in all the movies. So, I mean, you've got to factor in Amazing Spider-Man, which I mean, like, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed enough to buy it. I enjoyed both of them, but I mean, it wasn't as good as the first original Spider-Man. Like 2016, like, it saw a lot of things happen that was good for Marvel movies. Like, a lot of people never thought they'd see a standalone Deadpool movie. You saw that in 2016, and it was done great. And he's got a sequel coming out. Yeah. You saw Spider-Man in the MCU for the first time, like, and the fans loved it, and it helped Homecoming this year.
And then we got Apocalypse. Come on! Apocalypse sucked. Everybody, it doesn't get mixed reviews. People liked Apocalypse for only one reason, and that's for the core group of X-Men that were involved in it. Apocalypse was totally done wrong. That was like, it was just they didn't nail that character, and so that was the problem with Apocalypse. And so they have their 2016 has a lot attached to it negatively as well. You know what I mean? So you can't. I'm just arguing it because you said Amazing Spider-Man was attached to my year. Fine, but I'm going to attach Apocalypse to your year.
I wasn't trying to hide Apocalypse. I agree with you that it wasn't.
You said
as
mixed
good.
reviews. You said mixed reviews, and it does. It's mostly people.
Hey, I love Apocalypse. I mean, I have and I know other people that actually did like it. But I mean, I agree that it wasn't as good as it could have been. But I mean, like you've got a lot of like in 2016. Like I know you said, like when talk about years, it's not about the amount of movies that come out. It's about like how balanced they are with quality. Like you've got like 2012, it's a 50-50 split. Like Avengers is top notch. Amazing Spider-Man is it's good, but not Avengers level good.
Yeah, but also Avengers is so good. Is so good that when people came out of the theaters after watching Amazing Spider-Man, they were mixed feelings about that, and they didn't know what to think. But they took a big sigh of relief because they knew, well, at least we have the Avengers. Okay, so now we come into your year, and we have Apocalypse, which was following one of probably the best Marvel movies, definitely in lots of people's top 10 movies. Again, keep bringing this argument back. Is Days of Future Past. They had a fantastic movie, and I feel like all they did was reuse the same jokes. Like they had certain things that they did in that movie that it didn't feel like there was no it didn't make me invested as much in the characters and in the story. I thought Apocalypse was going to be this badass, and then it turns out that he's just this blue guy walking around. Like they didn't really they built the. I prefer the trailer over the movie. They did this awesome movie job with the trailer, and then they didn't pay off. So you had 4 movies in your year, but I think that when you look at where they came from, and it's a good year, but mine's just that much better.
All right, so we're going to get into our final debates. We'll start with Joey on this, and then we'll go to Malcolm, and I'll have my decision. Joey, kick us off.
All right, so we know that the Avengers, they got this final movie coming up in their trilogy, I guess, with the Infinity Wars, and it's all thanks to the formula that they developed in these phases, and they brought all these characters together and showed us how beautiful it could be on screen. And people argue that Age of Ultron wasn't as good as the first movie, but it's the same formula, these same characters, and it's still fun. It's still funny. It's still there's still some grit and some stakes to it, and so everything is always attached. It seems like anything that's working for the MCU or Marvel in general, it's attached to the Avengers property, and so 2012 will forever go down as the year that it all happened. It all changed for the better.
All right.
But
You can go ahead, Malcolm. Sorry.
it's I don't know if you're going to cover, but what 2012 had the Avengers. I mean, it was the biggest movie of that year, but it also had the Amazing Spider-Man, which is not as good. Like 75% of the movies in 2016, they were all good movies, and everyone was praising them. And yes, they were 2 of them were MCU movies. So it's one of those things. But 2016 also had the first a movie that most people thought never would happen, which was the Deadpool movie, and they had Spider-Man in the MCU, which most people never thought would happen either. And there's a lot of firsts in 2016, which is why I picked it, and it, in my opinion, it sits above 2012 in the best year for Marvel movies.
Alrighty, so another great round for you guys. That's going to conclude our regular rounds. And we will go to speed round. But with this one, you guys, like the others, went back and forth, knocking each other's down and, of course, striking back. So I also went more for the hits that you had against the year because the details would be pretty similar, I think, overall, when you're talking about years of movies. And I feel like it's very close, but I just feel like Malcolm got like 2 hits more on your year, Joey. Obviously, I think The Avengers is a better movie than any of the 2016 movies, but I had to take into account that he was hitting The Amazing Spider-Man quite a bit, and he was deflecting your hits, and you had a lot of hits that were good too, but he just had like 1 or 2 more hits towards your year. So I'm gonna give Malcolm the point, and that means we go into the speed round all tied up. Which
it's exactly what I expected.
Oh yeah,
it's a good fight, brother.
So anybody who doubted Malcolm at all, I think this definitely changes their mind.
I'm looking at you,
definitely. Oh yeah. So, all right. So we're gonna go into speed round. How speed round works, like I explained earlier, is I'm gonna give you guys a question. First person to answer will go first. Second person who answers goes second. If try to say it first because you guys might agree on one of the questions. So you really want to make sure you get that because it's really hard to debate on something that you didn't want and you're debating against the thing you wanted. So you'll have 20 seconds to debate. Then we'll go to your opponent, and then you'll have a 10-second rebuttal. Go back to your opponent, and then I will come up with a decision. So, the first question of the speed round is, if you could remove one character from the MCU, who would it be?
Hawkeye.
Doctor Strange.
All right. Malcolm will go first with Hawkeye. Joey, you'll go second with Doctor Strange. Malcolm, 20 seconds on the clock. Ready when you are.
Hawkeye can easily be removed from the MCU because he doesn't really add a lot to the MCU at all. He's my favorite character, but I don't like the way he's portrayed by Jeremy Renner. I think there could be a better actor that could bring him to life. And it's one of those ones that most of the scenes, quite often.
Time. All right. Joey, clock starts when you're ready.
All right, so everyone knows Doctor Strange is attached to the Infinity Stones, and his powers come from that. But I've tried watching it for the second time, and I just can't get into this movie. It's too weird and mystical, and it's like all of a sudden, okay, everyone's going to be able to just, what is this, Green Lantern? It's too much. I think they could have found a different way of introducing the Green Stone. I think that Doctor Strange is a
time. All right, Malcolm, 10 seconds when you're ready, and I'll go back to Joey.
Doctor Strange is absolutely needed for the MCU because of the Infinity Stones. And and if he wasn't there, there may not have been another way. Hawkeye can be taken out and
time. I know it's quick. All right. We'll give you 10 seconds, Joey, when you're ready.
Hawkeye's an important character because he's human, and so it always brings us back to, we're all human. We've all been trying to defend the Earth, and we're just people. We could be ripped apart or flesh and blood. You know what I mean? We don't have mystical power.
All right, for that one, I'm going to have to give it to Malcolm because I feel like he explained more why he could be removed from the MCU, and the MCU could be the same. So Malcolm will have a 3-2 lead.
I realized I misspoke when I said Doctor Strange because, he is pretty integral to the Infinity Stone. Like, but I took my own opinion of the movie and the character, and I didn't think about the over spectrum of the thing. So yeah, you deserve the point 100%.
Yeah, when I heard your answer, I was like, really, Doctor Strange?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I like the underdog story. I'll come back, hopefully.
Oh, yeah. So you got to get these next two, or else Malcolm will win this match. And he will go 1-1, and you will also be 1-1. So, we were talking about trilogies earlier. What was the best trilogy of all the Marvel movies? Not just MCU.
Captain America.
X-Men.
Heard Joey say Captain America first.
I said X-Men.
Oh, you said it. Okay, never mind. I'm an idiot. So, Joey, you'll go first with X-Men. Malcolm said Captain America, I believe.
Yeah.
So, okay. Just want to make sure I was right. So, Joey, 20 seconds on the clock.
Okay, coming back to my original point, where you have these people who just want to be normal, and they have these powers, and they're being ostracized, like they're being taken out of the, they can't be just normal people because of the powers they have. And so this whole trilogy is based on how do you treat these people, like like it's almost like a human rights trilogy, like this whole story, you know what I mean? And so I think that they did a great job in that original trilogy.
Right.
The one.
Okay. When you're ready, Malcolm.
Captain America is easily the better trilogy that Marvel's done because you can it shows Captain America and everything that happened to him, and it culminates in Civil War, and yeah.
Oh, there you go. 15 seconds. So, Joey, 10 seconds when you're ready.
All right, so Captain America had everything going for, like, it was a very simple storyline to tell. We already knew what he had, whereas Marvel had to take risks and they had to tell a different.
It's quick. So,
It is quick.
Malcolm, when you're ready.
Yeah, like when talking about X-Men, it's actually, like, depending on how you want to look at it, it's not really a trilogy. Because you've got to specify which trilogy you're actually talking about. With Captain America, you know which trilogy it is. And oh yeah.
Yeah.
Time, Malcolm. Come on.
So this one's a lot closer. I think I'm gonna have to give the smidge edge to Joey, just by a hair. So we will have one more speed round question. We'll do 30 seconds on this, and then we'll go 20 seconds for your rebuttal rather than 10. So here's a question. We argue about this all the time, but we want to know, what is the best group franchise? The Disney MCU, which is just the MCU in general, Fox's X-Men, or the Spider-Verse from Sony, not including Homecoming?
Spider-Verse.
MCU.
Okay. Joey, once again, you'll go first with the Spider-Verse, and then we'll go with 30 seconds of clock when you're ready.
So I didn't understand. So the question was which franchise is better?
Yeah, what's the best franchise?
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. I already said it, so I'll stick with it. Okay.
Yep.
All right, so Spider-Man is probably one of the all-time favorite characters. He's as old as time. Like, we got Batman and Superman. He's right up there with them. And so when he was on screen, big and bold in the first that movie back, the very first Spider-Man, Sam Raimi one, it was something wonderful. And so every movie after that, we wanted to make sure we got it right. And they had some hiccups, but then we finally got it right with Homecoming. That was a fantastic Spider-Man movie. And so it's like bookending such an iconic character. They did a great job. I think that considering all the hurdles that they had to come across, that Spider-Man was done justice finally.
All right. Malcolm, when you're ready.
MCU is totally the best franchise first because from the first Iron Man all the way to Spider-Man Homecoming, which isn't a part of the technically Spider-Verse, all the movies are done spectacular and they haven't had a lot of bumps. Spider-Verse has had a few stinkers in there, and that hurts that franchise. But MCU is like all the movies have been top notch, and they've gotten world class directors from Joss Whedon all the way to Taika Waititi, who's doing the upcoming Thor Ragnarok, and I mean, and that looks.
Time. All right, we'll give Joey an extra second. So Joey, 21 seconds when you're ready.
What I like best about Spider-Man, especially the first and second one from Sam Raimi, is how they set up the character, and the special effects were cutting edge, and they gave us like Spider-Man swinging around in daytime, which when you're trying to do something in daylight, it's impossible. Like it's really hard to make it look realistic, and he's swinging around into the buildings in the daytime, and so they have such an iconic character, and they did such a good job in those two movies. That's enough to carry the rest of the, so that you can. Yeah.
When you're ready, Malcolm.
You talk about the special effects of Spider-Man. I mean, the MCU, like you had Iron Man flying through, you had Thor swinging his hammer, and like you even had you even had a new version of Spider-Man swinging around, and like you also had Doctor Strange's mystical powers and Scarlet Witch's mystical powers done perfectly. Like Spider-Man, like.
Time.
Yeah, I mean...
Time. All right. Good fight all around. I do have my winner. It came down to a couple things that you guys said. Very little details. It was really close. No matter what, win or lose, you guys did great in this match. I'm not great at keeping suspense, but yeah, we'll do that. So, your winner for today's match. Hold on, I think I gotta go grab something. We'll be right back after this break. No, your winner is Malcolm. I'm gonna have to give him the point on this, which would mean he does win today's match. Very close. There's something he said in that first opening argument about how the Spider-Verse has bad movies, and I feel like Joey wasn't really hitting on the MCU in a negative way much, and I feel like Joey probably wanted to pick the MCU if he heard that a little better.
Yeah, I missed the question, but that's good job there, sir.
Yeah, so
you argued it the way I would have, so you did good.
Yeah, so Malcolm, how's it feel to get a win under your belt finally?
Pretty good, and I mean, it shows to all the doubters out there that go, "Oh, Malcolm is not going to be up there." It's like, and it really gives me a chance, and it's pretty much like I've got this match coming up with Max in a few weeks, and it gives me a chance to get a good argument in before that, so I can blow Max away. Because I mean, I've seen Max's first match. It's like he really didn't argue much. So I mean, when I saw his match, it's like it could be an easy one. So I thought, but it was good that I had this match with Joe, who was a great opponent. Like he managed to knock me down a few times, but I can get back up no matter what happens.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you win your next game against Max, and you really turn the tables, especially with you. Joey, got your first defeat. How does it feel?
I feel great. You know, I lost to one of the best personalities in our world that we live in. You know, the movie Trivia Schmodown fans. We all come together and we do these things, and we hang out, and I've come to really respect Malcolm. So I'm glad I lost to him. He's a scholar and a gentleman. And so congratulations.
Oh yeah, and once again, this is a great match. You both are going to be doing really well in this league, whether you won or lost. Joey, this is not going to affect you too much, I don't think. I'm sure you're going to come back strong, and you're going to make it really hard for somebody to get a win against you. And Malcolm, like you said earlier, this is going to start turning a lot of the doubters around. So thank you all for watching. If you're new, click that subscribe button. That way you can see more of these matches and other videos that come across the thing. Before I finish, because I totally forgot something. I love editing. So anyway, before we go, Malcolm, where can people find you?
Well, I'm on Facebook. I've got my on Malcolm Goldie Lay. Like, I've got an account on Twitter, but I don't really use it. As Joe said, you can find me all over on part of the Fan Reaction League. You can find me on There'll Be Trivia with this whole new cultivating league that they're going to have going on, which is a combination of worldwide movie trivia and There'll Be Trivia and a few other things, and it's going to be great. I've got the team league coming up with my partner Manning, so I'm all over the place. So.
Awesome. And where can the people find you at, Joey?
You can find me at Joey Morin with this picture. Twitter and Facebook. I have an Instagram account. People keep following me, but I never use it. I probably should. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I started the Fan Reaction League, and I'm making a soft return. I'm coming back to that, so it's going to be some fun again. And so it's great being a part of this whole community. And look, hit me up if you guys want to ask me anything. You know where to find me.
All right. You can find me here, of course, and you can find me in the league. Speaking of league, we're going to have a Facebook link down below. Click it, join it, contact me or Aaron or any of the other admins. You'll get a match. Can't tell you when. It's going to be quite a bit for the newbies. Of course, find me here on this channel. Like I said before, find me on Twitter at It's Matt Beer. Thank you guys very much for watching. Click that subscribe button if you're new, like I said earlier. Give it a like if you enjoy the stuff, and check out some of the old matches. You guys are going to have a good treat. Thanks for watching. I've been Matt, and on behalf of the other admins, as I try to close this off, as I try to go to bed at midnight, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye. Go out.